Hello, sir. Good morning. From the month of April, we've just started doing programs on awareness on various aspects, not only autism, but maybe it's the International Peace Day, whatever being it, we wanted to do this, and it was Arun Karthik who gave me this idea to do it to create more awareness about various things which are happening and what service that as a counselor, as a psychologist, we can be providing to the society in general is uh, the reason why we are beginning with these kind of programs. Because earlier I was doing presentations, as I told you, like with my students. I was trying to provide a platform for students to explore themselves and to give that confidence in them to speak on a platform. So though it was under the title promoting mental health. So under that, we were doing programs earlier with my internship students and people whom I do workshops with. So now we are doing something exclusive other than that also, by having special guests and myself also being one of the presenter. So I think this should be going well, and this would definitely be helpful to many people, I feel. And I'm like it's happy to have Shamla ma'am today. She is the first person who's just starting on it when it comes to working on international awareness programs. This is the first time we are doing something like this, and it's nice to have her here. Welcome, Shamla ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Shall I start with it? Or should we wait for another 5 minutes, ma'am? It's 9:25 now. Sorry, it's
It's
5 minutes to,
10:55. Five
yeah, so
minutes.
five
Uh,
minutes.
Shyamla ma'am, thank you for everything which you are going to present. It's a great honor for us.
Thank you, sir. It's a great honor for me to present this. So we'll all
Please.
work for the children. That is the
Yes.
main, the goal is to work for the children. That is it.
Great. Great. Go ahead.
Ma'am, you can go ahead introducing yourself.
Okay. Uh, just a minute. Huh? Just give me 2 minutes.
Yes, ma'am.
Shall I start now?
Yes,
It's
ma'am.
11, right? So, yeah. Thank you, ma'am, for your kind introduction. And I'm truly honored to be here today to talk about a topic that is extremely important. And I can't wait to share my insights on autism with you all.
Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you. Now, how many of you have ever met someone with autism? You may have a family member, a friend, colleague, somebody who is there on this spectrum. Today, we'll explore what autism means and how we can better understand and support individuals on the spectrum. What is autism? Everybody talks about it. So let's find out what is autism. Autism spectrum disorder, which is also known as ASD, is a neurodevelopment condition affecting communication, behavior, and social interactions. Now, you'd ask me, what is neurodevelopment condition? So it refers to a disorder that affects the brain development, impacting cognitive functions, behavior, communication, learning, motor skills. It may emerge from it definitely emerges from early childhood and it can persist throughout life. It is called a spectrum disorder because it varies in severity, symptoms, and abilities. Just like Sir was saying, Arun Sir was asking, how would be, it's 13 years old, what is the solution or what it is? It is the ability of the child which has to be tapped. Did you know that 1 in 36 children is diagnosed with autism? Yet, many still struggle to understand what autism really is. So, my goal today is to shed light on some of the most important and common misconceptions and realities. Why is autism awareness important? Autism prevalence is increasing. Just as I said, 1 in 36 children. But many people still lack awareness. Early intervention and support can significantly improve quality of life. Acceptance leads to better education, employment, and social inclusion. I've been a kindergarten teacher for more than 2 decades. And those days, about 22 years back, autism word was not even used. So children used to not get admissions in school. So any school, I was living in Dubai then. So any school which would give you admission would be included. That is how Nabil came to my class when he was in kindergarten two, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. So he came to my class. At that time, even I was not aware what autism is. One of them said that he's got autism. What is autism? What the child finds difficult? I was unaware 22 years ago. This must be definitely. So Nabil was excellent in his work. In his work, in the sense is, you give him any math, he could solve, which was beyond the level of a kindergarten five child. But it would not be in the squares. He would write it very big. It would not. It will be in sleeping. But whatever it is, the calculations would be just perfect. He had no eye contact. He would sit in his place, but he would keep muttering. And if he had something to ask me, he would come to my table and he would keep weaning. That would be the noise. So I knew that something, he wants something. So if you ask, it'll only be through directions. He'll show the hand, a finger, whatever it is. So that was, but he was excellent in reading. I used to carry magazines for Nabil because he could read what a seventh, 10th standard child, or even books which were beyond his capacity. Sheikh Zaid bin Sultan Al Nayan. It was just a normal child could read. So there was some extra ability in that child. His way of seeing world was so unique, different, but yet very beautiful. He was a Muslim child, so he used to say the surah, the prayer, very, very well. So it all also depends on the teacher how they promote the child. So I used to make sure that Nabil used to go on the stage for assembly and say the prayer. We had that prayer system where the child would go, any religion, or they could say. So promoting the child is also very important factor which the teacher as well as the parents need to lay importance on. Now, people with autism find loud noise, crowd very, very frightening. They may repeat the same words over again and again. And when we talk to them, they may not look at you at all. And you may wonder, are they hearing to you at all? Now, let's understand the three levels of autism. DSM-5, these are all the terminologies which comes in psychology. So let me directly go to level 1, that is high functioning autism, which requires support. Mild social communication difficulties, struggles with understanding social clues and forming relationships, may have rigid routines, but can manage daily life with some accommodations. They can live independently with minimal support. Moderate autism, they require substantial support. More noticeable difficulties with verbal and non-verbal communication, struggles significantly with social interactions and flexibility in behavior, Repetitive behaviors and sensory sensitivities are more pronounced, needs consistent social support in daily activities, but can develop independence with therapy. Now, what is severe autism? It requires very substantial support. They have severe communication difficulties, intense need of routines, and difficulty adapting to change. Now, I mean, see, again, I would give the example of Nabil here. So, when we used to have AC in the class, so Nabil, what happens is when he comes to class, we have a habit when we used to go out to play or when assembly or any time when we were out of the class, the AC switch had to be switched off. So it was Nabil who took over the charge of switching on the AC. Okay, so whenever switching on and off, both were his job. So he was entitled for it actually. So he would go, he'll switch on, he'll come out, whatever it is. But now what happens is the other children do not know. It's not kind of called bullying or anything, but they would go and because they knew that Nabil wanted to switch off the AC, one child would run and go and switch it off. And it used to upset Nabil a lot. Now, no communication skills. He does not know how to fight and tell the other child or push the normal things what the other children would have done. He'll come to my table and he'll again wean. And then he'll show me the AC. He'll keep looking. He'll keep looking. So I would understand that he wanted to switch on the AC. So what I'll do, I'll say, who did that? It was Nabil's job, right? To make him feel important. And I would explain it to the child, the other children in the class, saying that, see, he's taken over the job. I'll give you another job. So you please switch it off and then Nabil, go switch on the AC. He would feel so pleased. He will just go, switch it on, and come and sit in his place. So there are certain things which we need to accommodate, explain it to our children if they have another child in the class who is autistic. Acceptance here is very important. Continuing now, high sensitivity to sensory inputs requires full time support for daily living and self care. So now we saw what is autism. Now, what it isn't, what is not autism? It is not a learning disability. It is not an illness or a disease. It is definitely not a bad behavior. It is the child is doesn't have a bad behavior. He is helpless, so we need to support him. It's not bad parenting at all, and it does not affect only children. It affects adults also. The core features of autism: communication skills, that is, I've explained about speech difficulty, eye contact, non-verbal clues, repetitive behavior, rocking, insisting on routine. After that, a few years later, I had a child called Kevin in my class. So Kevin had a routine. Like whatever work you do, he will not lift his head unless he's completed his work. So suppose I give the class to write A to Z. So children are distracted. The other children, pencil will fall, eraser will fall. There are children who get distracted very fast. But Kevin, if he starts with A until he has finished Z, he will not lift his head. Even if you tap him on his back, he'll say, Kevin, Kevin, he will not even look at you. So that much of he was like a very you couldn't sit in his place. It was Nabil, it was different. He could sit. With Kevin, he would never be able. So we needed a shadow for Kevin. So that is why I said there are on the spectrum there severity changes. There's ups, there downs. Now sensory sensitivities, that is over under reactivity to sounds, lights, and touch.
I'm sorry, just a second. Your
Yes, ma'am.
presentation is not visible. Just check on what you're
None of
presenting. Can you represent? I mean, the slide. It's not visible.
now is it, ma'am?
No, you can just stop that presentation slide of yours and maybe you can present again by choosing the correct window which you want to show.
All right, I'll do that again.
Ma'am, there's a companion mode being on by Chitra, ma'am. So I think if she stops the screen sharing, maybe it'll be visible now.
Is it so?
Yeah,
Okay.
Chitra Vishwanathan is presenting. Who's Chitra Vishwanathan? Uh, I would request Chitra Vishwanathan to leave the meeting or join back again. Um
Okay, I'll do the needful. Yes.
Thank you, Ranjini ma'am.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Yeah, 1 minute. I'll have to open because I switched it off.
Yes.
Just a minute. Why? Why is it? Something is wrong. I'm not able to escape. Give me a minute.
Yes, yes. Take your time.
Unable to escape, ma'am. Shall I leave the meeting and join again?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Okay.
No problem.
So you want me to go back to the previous slide?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So the core features of autism, as already explained, delayed speech, difficulty with eye contact, and non-verbal clues, repetitive behavior. I told you, like, gave you an example of Kevin, and sensory sensitivities. Now, even small changes may be very upsetting to them. The place, the same chair, wanting to read the same book. So, do you think autistic people lack emotions? Do you
Those who
think
want to
autistic?
speak can talk.
Okay.
Can you
Do
repeat
you
your
think?
question, ma'am?
Yeah. Do you think autistic people lack emotions?
Definitely not. Yes, Vidya.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Even I just wanted to tell they don't. I don't think they lack emotions. Maybe they're finding it not the way we are able to express it. They are finding it hard to express it in the way that we express it. Maybe.
Exactly.
Yeah, that is, yeah, exactly. That is, they experience emotions a little differently. They do have emotions just like all of us, and they are unable to express it. That's the only difference. Like we normal people, that is normal, we say we are normal, right? So we normal people can ignore, or children can ignore something that we don't want to see. If I don't want to see something, I can just ignore. And if I don't want to listen to somebody speaking, even if I don't have to put my fingers on my ear, I know how to block it, right? But people or children with autism have sight, sound, smell all around them, rushing into their brains like a giant wave. Everything together just comes into their brain. Okay? They get terribly confused. They aren't bad or behaving badly, they are just different. My child, this is such a very important slide for me in all of this. My child with autism has no friends. It can be very hard for them to understand the rules of the game, jokes, or use their imagination. It is very, very hard for them to make friends. But we all need friends, right? We all need to be loved. So if you know of somebody who has autism, try being a good friend. If you have a child, if your child has an autistic child in the class, you can explain to your child how to be one with them, how to bring them into their circle. Help them understand so that your child learns to be empathetic. Actually, it is a two-way process. By being patient, it benefits your child too. By learning to be patient, understanding, inclusive, they develop, that is, your child develops emotional intelligence. Today, EQ is one of the most important thing. IQ, now IQ is being put apart and everybody talks about EQ, emotional intelligence, kindness, and the ability to appreciate differences. Friendship isn't just about being fun, having fun together. It's about accepting and supporting one another. So next time you see a child who seems a little different, encourage your child to say hello, invite them to play, simply sit with them. Small gestures make a world of difference because at the end of the day, inclusion starts with awareness, but it thrives through action. I have awareness, I have accepted him. That is, inclusion is there, acceptance is there. Where is the action? So, action is equally extremely important. How is autism diagnosed? So, with limited eye contact, repetitive play, speech delays, defective in defects in social communication, same thing. This is what DSM-5 says. And in adults, it is often overlooked, and self advocacy is important. Now, identifying autism in adults. We've just ignored that part, that okay, we've seen only the part child, 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 and just grows. But there are so, because years ago, decades ago, autism was just not, it was just with the flow. So people are still struggling with it. So they have difficulty in understanding jokes or implied meanings. They prefer deep conversations instead of small talk. Again, they have eye contact. They find socializing very difficult. Any, they prefer routine. They're very systematic, and they find sudden changes distressing. Repetitive behaviors like rocking on the chair, like hand movements, or intense focus on certain hobbies. Some are extremely interested. They love to talk about, say, technology or trains, or they'll be very focused on history. They struggle with teamwork. Unexpected events can be overwhelming. As I said, they need structure, predictability in tasks, and they have so much of difficulty. They might mimic, or they might put a mask and try to become one with the society, because if they show they have a difference, they might not be socially accepted, or they might find a job difficult. Finding a job might be difficult to them, so they might try to mimic. Moving ahead, what are the strengths of an autistic individual? They have excellent focus on specific tasks. Some are very, very good at drawing. Some are excellent, very good in computers, painting, very good in math, excellent speakers. I mean, of course, they have communication skills, but what I mean to say, reading skills. Like I told you of Nabil, who would be able to read, but he would never be able to comprehend what he's reading. But it's just that reading skills. Inclusion. Autism awareness means knowing what autism is, but autism acceptance means valuing autistic people as they are. True acceptance goes beyond understanding. It embraces and includes autistic individuals in everyday life. When society shifts from awareness to acceptance, autistic people can thrive without being forced to change who they are. So, this is why I know I'm aware, inclusion, everything is there. Acceptance as they are is extremely important without making them, that I told you, they have to wear a mask. They don't need to wear a mask. Accept them as they are. Everyday challenges, difficulty making friends, accommodation in schools and jobs. Again, high risk of anxiety and depression. They have no friends. Their communication skills. So there's higher risk of anxiety. Now, therapies and interventions. Behavioral therapy, speech and occupational therapy to improve communication and daily skills, supportive environment. This is the key for them. In school, at home, and workplace, if they are given that much of support, I'm sure they'll be able to, they'll feel included. And this anxiety, depression, I'm sure they will never undergo that path. Creating awareness in children, this is also another very, very important. Just as I told you, uh, uh, how you have to make your, if there is an autistic child in your child's class, there are so many videos, there are so many books available today, where you can take those books and explain it to your child about autism, about how they need to include, how they see how autistic children see the world in a different manner, so that your child is able to accept. And bullying, which has become very common, bullying, they would, when four children get together, one child induces something, the other four follow. So you can talk to your child to be, or make the other children also aware through your child, how they have to accept the special child. So teaching children about autism promotes empathy and inclusion. Schools should encourage neurodiversity education. Simple actions like kindness, patience, and friendship can make a big difference. Interactive activities and storytelling help children understand autism better. Moving from awareness to acceptance. You'll be able to read, listen, accommodate, avoid judgment. Everyone's brains works differently, and that's perfectly okay. So, ASD is an individual with their own strengths, challenges, and needs. Autism awareness focuses on educating people with autism, its challenges and characteristics. Autism acceptance goes a step further. Acceptance by embracing, including autistic children in society, children, individuals in society, without trying to fix them. Acceptance. This is acceptance. Moving from awareness to acceptance ensures real support, respect, and inclusion for autistic people in all aspects of life. Now, I'll give you a few success stories. Who doesn't know Albert Einstein? He had difficulty in social interactions, intense focus on certain interests. Satoshi Tajiri, the creator of world popular Pokemon franchise, he had great interest in video games and computer programming. Intense focus. Bill Gates, again, intense focus about complex problems in a systematic and analytical way. And Pranav Bakshi, an autistic child who went for therapy, who was taken for theater workshop, and as a part of creative therapy, he did so well. And today he is the model, he's the first model with autism. So there is scope when there is awareness and acceptance. So the key takeaways today are: be patient. Autism is not a disease, it's a different way of expressing the world. Early diagnosis and support can improve the quality of life. Society must move from awareness to acceptance. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, now you can post your questions in the chat box. We'll be glad to take your questions.
Yeah, so we can go with the questions a little later. Maybe you can just make a note of what you actually want to ask. Before that, I would like to share my experiences. So Charlemagne has she's like wonderfully explained about autism and the different things. Like I thought to add on to that because I'm someone who generally works with a lot of children and the adolescent population and the young population. So I thought I would just explain my own experiences with children who faced autism, as well as I've worked with a few adults. So the thing is that what I wanted to bring to awareness is that the I made specifically the title as communication and autism. Why? Because many of us have this misconception that a child with autism is someone who cannot communicate, but that's not the fact. I'm telling you because of my own experiences working with children. So I would like to speak here about one of the kid whom in my beginning stages in 2009 when I began. When I was in my second year of MSc, I got an opportunity to work with my HOD's organization. I used to go there as a volunteer, and then I was like getting a stipend. That's how my career began. So here, I would like to speak about my favorite boy, Renish. I'm still in touch with my kids whom I worked in that particular institution. Till today, we have a separate group where they included me. It's so happy that they included me, and it's not that all kids were autistic. Every child had their own challenges in terms of dyslexia, learning disability, and hyperactivity or attention deficit disorder, whatever. No, so being today's topic, autism, I'm just talking about that. So this particular boy, Renish, was my pet, and there was a story behind like how he became a pet. Initially he was very much associated with his previous class teacher. So according to the reading age and the writing age of every child, children are split and put into different classrooms. So these I had a set of 10 children who were in this category of reading and writing age, who were of similar reading and writing age, and I was the class teacher of standard 4. So this boy had difficulty associating with me in the beginning because he was still thinking of the previous teacher whom he had a good rapport. So from shifting from that teacher to this teacher, new teacher, class teacher, took him a long took him some time. I won't say long time, took him some time. So he wouldn't like cooperate, he wouldn't connect with me, he wouldn't do what is given in class. But what I did was I chose to give him his own time. And just sometimes I was not like pressurizing him to write the notes or take the notes or listen to me or to look at me or whatever, no. Because we also undergo this remedial training, special education, and then we get into this. So due to awareness, and we know what the child goes through. And some children can have perceptual disorders as well. So when you perceive things, you perceive it in a different way. Each of us here, whether it is Ranjani, whether it is Arun, whether it is Shamala, whether it is Revati, each of us perception of a situation is very different. Our perception is based on our own genetic constitution,
Great, great.
and our exposure and experience. What we are is very different. So our perceptions are very different. So, similarly, these children, the pattern or the wiring of their brain and the neural structure can be a little different. So, thereby, the information is perceived in a way, whatever structure they have. So they're used to certain structural patterns of thinking, perception, recall, memory, so on. So that's quite different for them. And every individual has their own skill set. So getting back to Renish, Renish was someone like later on he felt that when he's looking around, everybody around is participating, everybody around is writing notes. Slowly he also gets that climate, the classmate warmth, that he can also, like, he's feeling safe now, he wants to learn. And this particular child is someone of higher functioning autism. So like what ma'am explained, when you look at the ASD, the autistic spectrum, some children are the ones who fall under the higher functioning category. So when it is higher functioning autism, we can also call it as Asperger's syndrome. So here, many children are people who can have above average intelligence, and people can have a very good memory, so they won't have problem in academics. The reading and writing part is not a struggle for children who are into this category. But there can be some limitations and challenges which they face, like difficulty in maintaining the eye contact and looking at the board and copying it right, or like even the uh, dexterity while sitting, maintaining a posture. No, your shoulder should be in alignment with your hip, and your hand, the paper pencil grip should be proper. There can be children who have a light pencil grip, the way they hold and they write. There can be children who are putting so much pressure on the page and writing that the imprint is there until you turn some 5 pages, it's still there, that print of what they've written. So I think these are certain things which needs to be taken care by the occupational therapist. They give certain activities for these children in terms of focus, concentration, paper pencil grip, and the postural aspect of them. Some children can have difficulty to eat food with a spoon, to pick the food, take it to the mouth, chew, swallow. So the difference between a physiotherapist and an occupational therapist is, physiotherapist is when we have some injuries, physical injuries, something to the bone, the muscle, there's like the movement is restricted, or we're finding those kind of painful things. Maybe we meet a physiotherapist. But then, when in terms of functioning, when there is a challenge, we we generally refer to an occupational therapist. Occupational therapists are very good in dealing and working with children with special needs, as well as geriatric and palliative care with the senior citizens who have certain issues in functioning. And they can be the right people who can teach them ADL as well, activities of a daily living. So when there is a school with everything like under one roof, these children can have an exposure with occupational therapists, speech therapists, and they can have trainers who have this kind of learning in special education, and who can conduct life skill coaching for them, and this special vocational unit where they provide learning in certain aspects when this particular child comes out of the school, maybe to put them into a job, put them into a role, teach them some skills where they can fit into something. Like in the place where I worked, we had this paper cup making. Similarly, when I worked with SCARF, Schizophrenia Research Foundation, we like there was a special unit for people with different challenges. It's not that only people who have schizophrenia are coming there. People of different challenges, problems, who face illness are brought there. There are a set of psychiatrists. There are social workers, psychiatric social workers, and psychologists who help with various things. And there was an occupational therapist, and there was a separate floor for people with these kind of challenges, for soap making or some embroidery or bag making. And I have witnessed this, that they were providing this big pick up and drop service to people, and it was mainly for adults, which I saw in Scarf. So they were picked, they were dropped, and every beginning of the month they receive their salaries for what they did, because these materials are supplied outside. So coming back to the initial case, the boy I was talking with. So he was Ranish was under higher functioning end. So here communication, where was he making this communication with me? So what I was doing is, once this particular child started writing statements, every time I used to give him an appreciation. I used to say, good, good, go to the next. So when he's used to this pattern, what he used to do is, um, like he was sitting in the first bench. So um, once I finish writing on the board and I come and I sit down and I wait for all the others to copy, he'll hold my hands. He'll hold both my hands, and he will ask me to say good, say good. He'll repeat it again and again. It means that only if I say good, he will write the next statement. So that he is wanting that attention, and now he knows that I'm not of a threat or harm to him, and I'm someone whom he can connect with and rely on. So that kind of connectivity he has with his teacher. I would give you another incident where I wanted every child to cover their textbooks, and I was going around checking, and then I did not focus on him because I know most of the time the work is done by him. Here I would like to highlight the importance of parenting. He had very supportive parents who were giving their 100% for this particular child. And certain compromises we need to make when we are parents, and especially when we have children with special challenges, parenting plays a very important role. So I know that the parents will do whatever is necessary. Books are covered பண்ணிட்டு அனுப்பணும்னா the next day it will all be covered. The homework will be done. The parent will check the notebook. The parent will regularly check the diary and make the child do the day's activity at home. So I did not focus much on him because I know he completes. My focus was on the children who generally don't complete. So I was just checking, going around checking whether everyone has covered their textbooks. So this particular child comes and holds my hand. Wherever I move around, he moves out of space. He comes, he holds my hand, and he brings me to his place. And I don't understand why he's doing that. I kept on telling him, Lanesh, you please go sit in your place. I'll check everybody's book. I'll come to your place later. Later, I understand that this child was trying to show me that his textbooks are covered. The child wants that appreciation from me. So we say, no, they're not communicating, there's lack of communication. So and another incident I will tell you. Yeah, he did something like which is not right, which I didn't want him to do in class. And I said, like, you're not cooperating, you're disturbing the class, so I want you to be outside the class. So for some time, please stay outside the class. And then you because you've done this, I'm not including you in the classroom. You have done some mischief, I'm not including in your classroom. So he was just there in my eyesight, he was just outside. They can sit, they can be there for some time. My intention was to just make him sit there for some time, and then I'll call him and say, so this was the scenario. And then this child has a very strong memory. So when he listens to certain songs which his parents have in their some pen drive, they had these many number of songs which they generally play when they travel, it seems. So it had mostly they speak English at home. So this boy is not very fluent in English, not fluent in Tamil, the Tamil being his mother tongue. He's very fluent in English. So I because I sent him out of the classroom, he felt sad and he expressed that sadness. So I started with my class with the other children. I was going on with the classes. So he was just there. He did not want to move away. He was just standing close to the entrance. And then I just let him be there, and I was just going ahead with what I was teaching in class. After some time, in 2 minutes, he's starting to sing this song. Kaadaliye, kaadaliye, kaadale yen marandai. Okay. So he doesn't know, I don't think he knows the meaning of what he's singing. All other children started laughing. And when I narrated this incident in the staff room, they also started laughing. And then, like, what no that but actually actual meaning here is what the child is communicating is, you did this to me and I feel sad about it, is what the child is communicating to me. Okay, so then I called him inside. I said, hereafter, don't do this. Go sit in your place. So this is something which the child communicated to me. And when like we were as a group of teachers who were talking to parents during a meeting. So he was constantly coming and like holding my hand, he was like pulling my hand, he was doing all that. And I thought, like, why is this child disturbing me when I'm speaking to someone else? Then his mother came and told me, his mother came and spoke to me. His mother told me that, ma'am, for a very long time he's trying to um, ask you to help him because there's one more boy who is troubling him. There's someone who's nagging him. He just wants to like play with him. That's all. That is the intention of the other child. But to him, it's like a disturbance that he's nagging me. And to him, you're doing this to me. I'm going and complaining to my class teacher. So he's running and coming to me to inform me that this boy is troubling me. So this is the way in which he communicated. So that is something like very beautiful which I saw. And because of the dedication of the parents, I would say that today Renish is doing a very good job. He's a guitarist, and he's earning. He's an adult. I see him very frequently on Facebook. He's a very strong memory. He still remembers me. When I converse with him, he replies back. He does that. And I think that way parenting, teaching, teaching the right kind of approaches is very necessary for children. So someone like Renit will has a unique skill set, will come up in life if the appropriate support is given. Like the particular institution school I mentioned about. So he was provided with speech therapy, occupational therapy, remedial training. They used to have inculcate other activities like karate, yoga, and the special skill unit training. So someone with dedicated parents can actually do wonders. His mother had actually quit her career. She studied special education. She did special education, and she joined as a teacher, and she wanted to explore more about this. And I think that is what like is very important for the development of children. So this is in the case of Renish. So there can be children who are of the lower functioning end as well, which is classical autism. Children with classical autism can be people who are having difficulties with the intelligence. They can have a low IQ. They can have a problem in the memory. Uh, some can have disintegrative disorders. Maybe they learn certain tasks and then they forget what they learned. So for these children, I think activities of daily living itself is a challenge, and they need to be under the supervision of parents, and it's becoming more of a difficulty for challenge for the parents and the teachers as well. And I think very early determination of the problem of that particular child is very important, because as a counselor, I would suggest um, parents who are planning for children to have a preconception counseling. In preconception counseling, they educate the to be parents of who are trying to have their conception to uh, advise. The advice is generally to be on the nutritional supports or the folic acid, especially, which is not available in folic acid form in the food we eat. So diet counselors suggest this, that it is something which is very necessary during the formation of a baby, for the neural development and the brain development. So when we are planning pregnancy 3 months ahead itself, they suggest that you are on folic acid to avoid these kind of challenges. And every trimester scans can speak about the health of the child. So at a point, if the doctor gives you a suggestion by looking at the scan reports that the child can have something of like a severe challenge, they generally suggest to not go ahead with the child. But it is only their scientific guidance which they provide. But it is up to the parent to continue it, or like continue the pregnancy, birth the child, or whatever. But that awareness and the diagnosis is can be made very early, uh, during their trimester scans, is what I'm trying to say. So it's very important to go for regular checkups. And medal in Chennai. I think it's like there in other parts of India as well. There are genetic counselors who provide information about what you can do in terms of like when during pregnancy when they're seeing this. But nowadays it's so very we have improved technologies from 3D scan to 4D scan of a child. In Down syndrome, a condition which we also call as mongoloid disorder, this nasal bone formation is not to be found in the scans. And doctors, the genetic counselors, suggest the parents to go in for the 4D scan, in which maybe when they're able to find that, they guide you based on that. And that's a decision up to the parents and the particular physician whom they are consulting on what decisions they are making. But the point which I'm trying to make here is that it can be ruled out at a very early stage when there is constant medical supervision for the mother. That's one thing. And it's very important for the fathers to equally play an important role when there is a special kid. Because I think many cases which I have seen, The mothers, though the diagnosis, when there's a delayed milestone and they feel that the child needs an intervention, the gynec or the pediatrician gives information to the mother to take the child for a clinical assessment. But many cases, the fathers or the families are stopping the woman from doing that. They say that this is all very common. After a period of time, it will change. And every child is like that. What is different with him? So this is somewhere I feel that the defense mechanism that that individual is making, so that I don't want uh, my child to be known as a special kid, or what will the society or the world around me think about me when they feel that I'm taking my child to a psychologist or a psychiatrist. They will think that he's mad. Sometimes they say that why should we ourselves portray that the child is having a problem? Hide it is something which they say. And someone I worked recently, um, she is a Montessori teacher, and she's especially doing that. Being an engineer, she's doing that because she wants to help her child, where she's finding this kind of an deviation in the behavior of the child, which is ruled quite early, but due to the non-participation of the father and the in-laws for not allowing her to go further with the therapeutic interventions, whether it is occupational therapy to improve the functioning of the child, or speech therapy also. I think they give certain guidance for parents as well. Even as a remedial trainer, special educator, what I've done is, we ask questions in a way. We don't ask open-ended questions, we give them closed-ended questions. So I asked the boy, have you completed writing? So the answer which a child should give is yes or no. That is what I will ask. Yes or no. Have you completed? Yes or no. So the child will either say yes or he will say no. So that is one method in which we are teaching them to communicate. So I think each of the responsible adults in the lives of these children can bring a very big impact on the child. And I want to include one more thing here. As ma'am said, rightly said, that empathy, teaching empathy to children. See, many schools now are following the inclusion criteria. Once they come to know a child is having a problem, whether it is learning disability or autism or whatever, they don't want to exclude the child, because many of the schools which are the CBSE schools as well as the ICSE schools are maintaining certain standards where they are adding a special educator in the curriculum. And they're also like having um, child psychologists. So I think it's very important to work in coordination and like to teach empathy for other children of how you should treat the other child. A 13-year-old child comes to my room. Okay, she is someone who is under somewhere, she falls, I think, in the middle of the spectrum. She's not either the higher functioning, we cannot say she's the low functioning. Somewhere in between also there are children who have certain challenges. And what people when the others, not people, the other children in the class are finding that the behavior of this child is a little different from them, they exclude them. So that was the challenge the child faced. She was talking about friendship, Shamala ma'am. So she was not included as a friend. She came to my room and she came and spoke to me. And I asked her, how do you know that my room is here? And how do you know that you have to come and talk to me? Something which I asked her. She told me that the Akka in my van asked me to meet you because a counselor is for solving problems. If I come and tell you this, you will solve my problem. Something this child came and told me. So she was able to communicate, she was able to verbalize. And then I took this to the principal. I spoke to the principal in person about what the child is facing. Then she was someone who's very supportive, and she gave me the space where I allocated some other work for this child outside the classroom. and when she was not there in the classroom, using a storytelling method, I portrayed the story and the same situation of this girl with the name changed, and I asked responses from them of what we should do. How can you feel that individual feel respected and good about themselves? So many children came up with many answers, and they know very well whom I'm speaking about. And there was one child which made me think. I don't know where she got those thoughts from. She told me, "Ma'am, for this there are special schools. Why should this particular character in your story come to a normal school, and why should the others empathize with her?" Is a question she asked me, which was very shocking. So maybe that's the mindset of the child which she learned from some elders, or that is the way we've tuned that child as a teacher or a parent. So that is why in circle time nowadays we are including empathy. Like how you feel hurt when someone hurts you, that's what the other individual also faces. And one more thing which I want to tell you as a highlight of today's session is communication is not only can be made through verbal. Being an expressive arts therapist, I would proudly say that there are various means in which an individual can express what they feel. There is this arts, visual arts, in which a child can express what they feel. And if we are someone trained in it, we will be able to assess and interact with them, probe more, and have a structured plan for the evolvement of this child, to the wellness, well-being of this child, present as well as the future well-being. We have visual arts, we have storytelling modalities which we can use, and there is this role play techniques we can use with a child. I'm talking about children who have difficulty in verbalizing, and there is this body movement therapy. Many children with autism, I've noticed they have this difficulty with spatial orientation, which will be corrected in the OT room, the occupational therapy. They have special equipments for that. They have this big ball in which they teach them left, right, front, forward. So when I take children for play therapy outside to just explore space, and no, they they have some sort of fear that I've experienced. They want to come and cling to the teacher when they have to get into a ride or something, no, they're scared. So maybe on those areas is something which we need to provide them that confidence and that exposure, and to tell them that it's not harmful, and to provide that no harm environment for them, because these children can be easily picked as a prey of other students who are into bullying and other things. They can become a victim. So necessary for us to empower the children with these challenges, that you have to tell your ma'am about it. And one more thing is that teaching children empathy, we do it in the circle time. um, Teaching emotions, teaching to verbalize emotions. If you're not able to verbalize, there are other ways of expressions. Express, tell stories, do artwork, and then you just let out what is there. No, speaking about some other character, we have projective tests and other things like sand play. In the therapeutic setting, we have a sand play, and they can like arrange models on it, and they can uh, explore that space, and they can do clay models, which is very good for the. In OT also they suggest that when they're playing with the sand or like playing with the clay, triggers certain points, and it helps people with the finger dexterity and other things, is what I've heard from them as well when they're exploring certain things. Yeah, so like yeah, puppets and play therapy, puppet making and talking about the puppet stories. These are some of the activities which we generally inculcate. So can we have a few of you to talk about, or if you have questions for Shamla ma'am, me, whoever, you can just go ahead.
Hello, Shyamla, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, like in your presentation, you had told about this adults with autism. Like you said, like
Yes.
the a point like where they put on a mask to just to be part of the normal group and all that. How do you is it like how do you feel like is it possible for them to completely mask their identity, or they really struggle inside and like any proper detail about it?
Ma'am, see, the society acceptance is very, very, unfortunate, but acceptance is, you will label them as slow. Usko kuch, you give them any work, they are not giving it on time. So, so those people struggle to meet your time because they've never expressed themselves at all. And we have always seen that autistic children, what happens when they become an adult? That relevance is still not there. That awareness is still not there. So if you won't believe that day other day I was there in the airport, and that was the first time now our society has accept people who are deaf and dumb to be there on the front desk, that Indigo Airlines. So he had put a badge there saying that, I can't speak, neither can I hear, but I'm definitely there to serve you. So he had a badge there. I felt so good being with him. So you become empathetic and accept. I wish the society had a badge like that saying, I'm proudly saying that I'm an autistic person. I'm there to help you. So then the acceptance of the other person also comes in saying that he may be a little slow, but we can accept. So the team leaders over there, give them that space or give them a little task which is aligned to their services or their projection of their capabilities. But since that acceptance has not yet come, they are under that mask. I hope I've answered your question, ma'am.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you. The thing is, like, that means, like, still the organizations are not really equipped enough to include the such people, even despite their talents and all, to be included along with the other people in certain organizations, or has it really changed a lot compared to years back?
I would say, ma'am, you want to take the question, ma'am? Yeah, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. So I have this experience of working with a child. I mean, sorry, he's an adult. So he was into the inclusion criteria. He finished his schooling and he finished his degree in BBA as well. As I told you, like he was very fortunate to have parents who are like highly qualified. Both the parents are chartered accountants, and one person had to the father took this thing to like sacrifice his career and do very minimal work, and the full focus was with the child, and that's how he was able to come to this level. So I would say that he doesn't fall under the higher functioning autism, neither the lower functioning autism, somewhere in between, I would say, because he has his own strengths, he has his own limitations. So the problem which he was facing was it was very difficult for him to like attend interviews. That fear, no, that social fear is there in interviews. So I was working with him with certain activities like um, providing him that expression of fear. So how does that fear look to you? Can you draw it? And then we speak about it, and then we do some role play techniques where I play the role of an interviewer and he is the client who is attending the interview. Certain things we can I'll teach him about it, and certain instruction also we need to do, give, like he'll come to my place in a two wheeler. This is where the parenting comes. They've trained him to this extent that it's just 1 kilometer, but still in an electric bike. So I started giving him some instructions. So once you come and park, because sometimes he'll forget to take the key off. He'll forget to take the key off the bike and he'll come upstairs. And constant ringing of the bell will be there. He will not wait for you to come in and open the door. But once you open the door, he'll say, "Good morning, ma'am." good afternoon, ma'am. So until you come and open, he'll not leave you. If you even like communicate in your voice that you're coming also, he'll not stop. Then you'll have to run in order to open the door. That will be the scenario. And then like I like teach them that basic instruction, that one time you ring the bell, I will come. You don't have to like constantly do that. He was 21 or 22 when I worked with him. Um, yeah. So these are some examples and challenges. I'm talking about the challenge as an adult. When he goes for work, no, he might sometimes they're confused, and he had this disintegrative problem. One concept fully you teach him, after 2 days he will forget what you taught him. That challenge he had still, because autism is a spectrum, we don't know where that particular individual falls. We can an individual report, clinical report, either done by an occupational therapist or a clinical psychologist, can give more clear picture about where this particular child will need help. They will know the IQ level, they will know the memory functioning, they will know whether the child has an integrative disintegrative disorder or a perceptual disorder, or what other challenges that particular individual has, because autism cannot be had, we cannot have it as a common term. Everybody has into this spectrum has variations. It's not a common problem. Chitra ma'am, do you have a question to ask? All right. So, yes, as you said, I don't think workplaces are very friendly for people with these challenges. This is from my observation, what I have seen. And I think even this particular child I was saying, parents were saying that for him to feel good, that he is also doing some work, whether it is 8,000 or 10,000, whatever it is, let him go sit, do some work, come back, even if it is a front office job. And they wanted to like keep in check that the place where the son is there should be close to their residence, so that anytime they can go supervise what he's doing. There are chances of he getting misused. There are chances for him to get stealed of whatever he has, his watch or his wallet or his bike. No, so that way it is a little bit of more effort on the parents, I would say. Definitely it is a strain, but still, no, it is that is the situation. No, it is not that we something happened purposefully, and it's no fault of that individual, it's no fault of the parents, but it just happened. And I think to handle that, to equip ourselves better for our survival and for our child's welfare, I think we need to like do certain things. But I wouldn't say that organizations are very friendly, but as I mentioned, like scarf and all, no. So when you have people with similar challenges, maybe that can be a comfortable environment for you, no. Maybe nobody is showing superiority there, nobody is like trying to dominate over you, and you're not feeling insecure, then that's a safe place. So with that, you can like go ahead with whatever is available. But I think there should be a support system. Even after the father, they like really taught the other child empathy, the second child, the son, empathy to take care of the elder brother. So tomorrow they feel that after our demise, somebody should be there to take care of him. So if it is a sibling who's taking care, that is something of it would be nice, no? Somebody has to at least see what they're doing. Everybody has their individual lives. Yeah, that's definitely a challenge. All right, so thank you so much, and I would like to hear a few words from people about what your takeaway was, what was your new learning, what was your insights from whatever we both spoke today.
Can I tell a few
Yes.
words, ma'am? Yeah, because ma'am, you had told about this the stigma of the family members when it comes to accepting their children, that they need some special care beyond what the normal kids do in their lives. because even I had my own experience with a kid over here who's nearby, and as you said, it was a mother who really struggled a lot. She really wanted the best for her child, and she was ready to go take wherever, like, she's ready to take or anything, any steps that is required to make him better, to give him a very good, make his mental health better and all. But she was not she didn't get the enough support from her husband or her in-laws, when because they get the exact statements that you had mentioned. What's wrong with them? They are just child. Okay, like it happens with every other child. Why can't they be normal? Don't categorize him right now. You are putting thoughts inside him that, this is that he's like that and he's like this and all that. So after years of struggle, now that she got the strength to to just talk through them, and got her son admitted in a special school, and there was tremendous change in him, in his performance, in his confidence and all. And she really cried when she saw him getting medals in the school competitions and all. So that's when, like, her in-laws came to terms with that we have made a very big blunder all these years. We should have done it years ago. And they really asked for her forgiveness and all. So that stigma, irrespective whether it's for autism or learning disability or ADHD or anything for that matter, in general, children's mental health, a child's mental health, it has to really, I don't know, the root starts from the parents, from the home, from where they come from. So the people around them, the immediate people around them, the adults around them, the support they receive from such adults, it will definitely take the child to the next level, to grow, to evolve, to face anything with confidence, and accept themselves, and make others also accept them. That kind of confidence we can give a child. But still the stigma is somewhere that I do know, more than other places here, based on my experiences also. I'm really struggling with accepting themselves, even a particular person, that if he or she, if you tell them that it's better you go seek some advice, some counseling advice, go meet a counselor, maybe you'll get a different clarity and all that, they're very, very hesitant to go to find, I mean, book an appointment and go and see even for once. They're not comfortable. So that's where I always think, like, what steps that we can do, to make it more inclusive in general, for mental health awareness itself.
Yeah.
So as you said, like all the points that you said, no, it is still happening around. I think almost all of us would have experienced such people in our daily activities, or in in our circles, and beyond that and all that. Because it's starting from family itself, starting right from our own family, our immediate family, our relatives, anyone for that matter. It's very, very hard to make our points, make them listen to what we are trying to tell them, so that they can think about it and make their own decision. They just cut short our talk whenever it comes to mental health.
I totally agree with you. I feel that, at times parents need to come, the mother and the father, they need to come for counseling. The first step. How acceptance, the awareness, acceptance, it doesn't matter. My child is more important to me than anybody else. So they need to come to, because as you said, there can be a rift between the husband, the mother wanting the best for the child, the father is not accepting, the family around, the in-laws don't accept. So at times I feel, if the parents, the mother and the father, work as a unit, they come forward, meet the counselor, I think they can do wonders for the child.
Yes, definitely. Can we hear from someone else your feedback about what you felt today? What was your takeaway? Some new insights you got? Anyone? Yes, sir.
Um, I'm Shankar. I know Shamla very well because she was our neighbor. Actually, we
Oh,
were staying
okay.
in building, and I joined very late actually because of my password issue in the Google and all. So I joined very late. After listening to I mean, it's a very good thing. I mean, whatever you have said, I'm talking about Priya. Not I didn't hear much about what Shamla said, Swati, Priya, whatever she was saying was very good. This thing, and just to come to that, my son actually is 17 years old. Okay, he's turning adult. She knows. Shamla also knows about that. You know, he has come to such a situation that uh, he is an adult. He wants to be on his own, everything on his own. Like he wants to go and work. He wants to drive a car. He doesn't want to ride a bicycle also, but he wants to drive a car. And he's scared of dogs when he go on the road. He doesn't. He's not able to cross the road. And now suddenly he's saying, "I am out of autism. I want to do everything on my own. Like I want to go and work somewhere." I said, "Okay, both of us we take him for counseling, make him understand like what is this." But after putting up about from the age of 13 to till 17, we had not told him that he is autistic. Got my point? He was not aware. Now when we told him that he is autistic, is not like the other children. Then after couple of months, he's saying everything is gone. I'm taking my medicines. I'm totally fine now. I want to go alone. And you won't believe one day he started from here, from Goregaon till Santa Cruz. He traveled alone without our knowledge. And at certain point of time, he was not able to know like where to reach. Like he wanted to go to Santa Cruz, but after getting in the train, he got lost. At least he had a mobile with us, and he called us. Okay, I have reached Jogeshwari. I want to know what to do after this. So when Swati, you were giving all those details about when a person turns into an adult, how to cope up with that. So I was listening to all whatever you were saying. Both of us actually we do all those things. We are in such a situation. We go for counseling. Actually, he was under counseling with Dr. Samir Dalbai, one of the leading doctors. And Mugdha Wag, he was under Mugdha Wag from Kogo. Uh, then from Umid Child Development Center. So now we are in such a situation. I'm not taking. I think since I joined very late, I won't be having much time. Probably you won't be having much time. But can you just give just a small this thing advice in such a situation where he's turning an adult and how to tell him that uh, looking out for a job because only after 18 he can get a job or something. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
We
definitely.
have been in
So
touch
I
with.
think this is an individual case, no? So I'll need more history on it. Maybe I'll share my contact with you so that you can connect with
Fine, fine.
me.
Because we
So
are in. I'm sorry. We are
yeah,
in contact with
I'll just put my number in the chat box so that if you have any queries, please do WhatsApp me, and I would definitely reply. I would get back to you.
I am in contact with Sushma Nagarkar also, who runs the Yes Charitable Trust.
Okay.
He is with Mariposa also, Mariposa Foundation, who give all therapies and everything.
All right. So I would answer your question, and because like for the others, no, we've set it from 10 to 12. So yes, so I think we have other compliments for you, Shamla ma'am, in the chat box. You can just give it a reading. Thank you, other
Okay.
participants, for joining us today, and have a great day. Thank you.
Shamla, all the
Thank
best.
you.
Shamla, all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you so
ma'am.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Shamla ma'am, you can go through.
Yeah.
The session was very nice, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ranjit.
Ranjini, thank you, Ranjini. Ranjini will be there for a minute. Some.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am, sure.
Do you want to ask us something, ma'am?
No, no, no. So we'll meet tomorrow at the same time,
Yeah,
Ranjini
same
ma'am,
time, 10
and
o'clock.
okay, then we'll discuss tomorrow.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Shall I
Yeah,
leave
sure,
now?
ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, it's
Fine.
bye.
Bye, Ranjani. Bye. Thank you, everyone. Bye.